Hi everyone, and welcome to our first show of 2021. Challenging times at the moment, and we hope you're coping well in lockdown. Now, Elky, how are you?
Yeah, I'm okay, mate. Thanks for asking. But like you said, it is indeed challenging times. Now, it was my birthday on a Sunday just gone. On a Saturday, me and the family went and had COVID tests. Now, on a Sunday, on my actual birthday, we had the results back. My wife and my one-year-old son came back positive, although I am pleased to say that my wife is feeling a lot better than she was. And my one-year-old son, it's like he never had it. He's absolutely full of beans. But mine came back negative, and the only conclusion I'm drawing from that is that Stello and barbecue keep COVID at bay.
I think you're right. We also had COVID in our household over Christmas. One of my sons tested positive the week before Christmas, which meant we had to self-isolate during the Christmas period. But we were very fortunate. Some friends were able to go and pick our Christmas turkey up.
That is very fortunate, yeah, and it just goes to show that it's absolutely rife. So everybody, please stay safe. Anyway, now let's take a look at what's coming up in this month's show.
Coming up, Elky creates a tasty smoked beef shin ragu. We have a chat with barbecue legend Marcus Bowdon from Country Wood Smoke. Neal cooks one of Marcus's classic recipes from his book Food and Fire. And we welcome back James Golding, Group Chef Director at the Peak Hotels, and he's cooking a classic steak combo over fire.
Lots coming up in the show. Now, Elky, this month you've been creating some amazing fish-based meals and posting fantastic photographs on Instagram. What's been your inspiration?
Cheers, Neil. Reason behind it really is our fishermen are obviously going through a bit of a rough time at the minute. I'm sure everybody's well aware of that. So I teamed up with Regal Fish Supplies to just kind of show people some of the delights that are available in our sea. Now, fish and fire just love each other. Trying to do a daily seafood dish really, and it's gone really well. Really enjoyed it. It's been an absolute winner. But today I've gone for a meat-based dish. I've smoked a beef shin ragu. Let's take a look. Today we're making cherry smoked beef ragu. Now, I absolutely love Italian food and specifically spaghetti bolognese, but whatever you do, do not let the Italians hear you call it spaghetti bolognese. No, to the people of Bologna, where this dish originated, it's ragu, and they have absolutely nailed it. I went there a couple of years ago, took some inspiration from my trip there, ate so much pasta, it was ridiculous. This isn't going to be authentic, but it's going to be damn right tasty, so I'm going to show you how I make my cherry smoked ragu. I'm going to be using beef shin today. Now, beef shin is a relatively cheap cut of meat. This stuff needs to be cooked low and slow. It needs to break down all those connective tissues, all the collagens. Once it does that, it will just melt in your mouth. So beef shin is what we're going to be using. I'm going to be smoking it over the sauce for a couple of hours to get a lovely bit of that cherry smoke on there. And then we're going to finish it off by braising it in the sauce until it just falls apart. So we're going to dice this up. I'm also going to be using some pancetta. Now, if you haven't got pancetta, or you can't get pancetta, then just use lardons, diced streaky bacon. So I've got about 150 grams of pancetta here that I'm also going to dice. I've also got a couple of red onions diced. We've got about 3 sticks of celery, fine diced again, 3 carrots, finely diced, and I've also got this bundle of herbs here. This is from the garden. I've got some thyme, rosemary, sage, and basil in there. We've also got a few bay leaves, and that is pretty much it, apart from, of course, the booze. We're going to be sticking a load of red wine in there. We're going to put a load of passata in there. So let's crack on with dicing the beef, dicing the pancetta. I've lit the Kamado Joe Classic Free for this. I'm going to bring it up to 225 degrees Fahrenheit, and then we're going to crack on with the dish. So we've diced up the beef and we've diced up the pancetta. I've put the pancetta into a nice heavy duty Dutch oven, and we're just going to render out that fat. So we don't want too high heat. We're not looking to really crisp it up. We're looking to, at this stage, we're looking to render out all that beautiful fat, because that's what we're going to use to cook our veggies in. So medium heat, and just keep stirring it until that fat is nicely rendered out. And then we're going to remove the pancetta. We're going to get the veggies in, and we're going to sweat them down for around about 10 minutes until they're nice and soft. So while our veggies are sweating away, I've got about 4 or 5 cloves here that I'm just going to stick in a pestle and mortar, and we're just going to break them down with some garlic. So we're going to use a bit of salt for some abrasion, bash those cloves down a little bit, and then we've got 6 decent sized cloves of garlic here. So I'm just going to give these a bash. They're going to go in the pestle and mortar, and we're going to crush them up into a kind of garlic paste. And we're just going to take our garlic and clove paste and just pop that in with those veggies. These veggies are nice and soft now, so we just want to cook this garlic out for about a minute, and then we're going to go ahead and get the red wine in there. Now we want to crank the heat up because we want to boil off the wine. We want to reduce it by at least half. I'm going to be putting about 500 ml of red wine in there. We're going to reduce it by at least half to burn off that alcohol. So we're just going to go ahead and pour that in and let that bubble away. So that's reduced by about a half. I'm going to go in with a 680 gram bottle of passata. So get all of that in there. And we're going to go in with the same again with some water. So just fill your bottle up with water. Obviously making sure we don't waste any of that passata. Give it a shake and get that in there as well. Remember, this is going to be sitting in the Kamado Joe for around about 5 hours, 5-6 hours. So you want to make sure there's plenty of juice in there. Let's just turn that down. Right, give that a shake. Get all of that passata off, and in that goes. Now, back in with the pancetta. Obviously, if you want to take yourself a cheeky little nibble, crack on, you're the chef. So in that goes. And lastly, pancetta's good. Lastly, got here a bunch of herbs that I've tied up. These are fresh herbs from the garden. You can use dried, just use about a teaspoon of each of maybe basil, rosemary, thyme, use some bay leaves, use some sage if you've got it. Whatever you fancy chucking in there, it's your dish. So in they go, in with some bay leaves, and that's it for the sauce. So this is now going to sit on the accessory rack in here. The grate's going to go over it, the meat is going to sit on top. We're going to get this meat seasoned with some salt and pepper. That's going to sit on top. All those juices are going to drip into that sauce as it's smoking away, and then we're going to stick all of that into the sauce to finish off. Boy, this is going to be good. All that's left now is to serve this up. So we've got our tagliatelle that we're just going to stick into a serving bowl. Don't worry, we've still got a bit of the water on it. We're going to put some of that through the meat because that's going to help the meat to adhere to the pasta, create that emulsion. It's just going to give you that nice pasta just coated in that beautiful meat sauce. So look, get the rest of this pasta out, some of this sauce. We're just going to take a couple of spoons and just run that through our meat sauce. So we're going to take our beautiful cherry smoked beef shin ragu, just pour that into the pasta, a couple of spoons. I'm just going to grab a couple of forks. We're just going to mix that through with the pasta. We want that sauce, we want that meat to stick, coat that pasta. So every bite that you get of that pasta, of the dish, you've got that beautiful smoky, tomatoey ragu. So this is going to be an absolute winner. And always, this might look like a lot, but always make more than you need when you're doing this kind of dish because it freezes well. So if you're going to go through the trouble of smoking the meat and doing it all this way, just make more than you need. Stick it in some pots, stick it in the freezer, and you've got perfect comfort food whenever you want it. Obviously, it's not complete without a bit of Parmigiana Reggiana. So we're just going to take that out and give some of that a grate over that. Don't be shy with this stuff. This is absolutely beautiful. And there we go. My cherry smoked beef shin ragu with tagliatelle and Parmigiano Reggiano. Enjoy.
Elky, that ragu looks superb, and adding a hint of smoke to that meat must have been amazing.
Oh yeah, the cherry smoke really does add an extra dimension of flavour to it. I got the inspiration from the dish from a Jamie Oliver book, Jamie Cooks Italy, and I've cooked it a few times since. It's an absolute winner. So I advise anybody, get out there and give it a go.
It looks superb. Now it's time for our special guest this month. He's a barbecue legend. It's Marcus Bowden. Marcus, welcome to the show. Last year, you were our first guest on the show, and you are our first guest of 2021. How are you doing?
Yeah, thank you. It's a real honour. It's really good to see how you guys have been growing and been doing really well with it. I love what you guys do, and it's amazing. Yeah, I'm doing okay. Fed up probably like the rest of us, but yeah, still barbecuing a storm through winter really, and yeah, I'm in my office today, so I'm not in the shack. It's a bit cold and windy up there. It's blowing a hoolie today, so. But yeah, all good really.
In case there's anybody there watching that doesn't know, tell us a bit about your background, when you started Country Wood Smoke, because you've got about 28,000 members on Country Wood Smoke now, haven't you? So do you want to tell us how that came about?
When I moved to the countryside here about 11 years ago, I started sort of getting into outdoor cooking and started a blog, countrywoodsmoke.com. That sort of grew quite quickly. Nobody else at that point was really blogging about sort of barbecuing really back in those days. It seems a bit different now, but so there was me with my dirty food, and yeah, nobody was really interested, and it sort of grew really, and I started sort of playing with YouTube and stuff, and I saw a real sort of opportunity to do a Facebook group. So there weren't any at that point. There's hundreds now of barbecue and outdoor cooking Facebook groups, but at that point there really weren't any. Well, there wasn't any other one in the UK, so I started Country Wood Smoke Facebook group, and that sort of grew quite quickly, and it's all grown nicely really. So yeah.
Did you ever see it getting to 28,000 members when you first started it?
I don't ever start things thinking, oh yeah, that'll do well, but I just sort of fill a gap really. When I see a gap, I sort of try and help, and for me, it's all about supporting barbecue community as that grows. It needs supporting in various ways, like podcasts now and Facebook groups, and and as it grows, the demand for those gets more and more and different things. So I've just sort of looked at what people are looking for and tried to fill that gap. So, but yeah, I never thought I'd reach that really.
Obviously, with that many subscribers or followers, I'd imagine you find it quite hard to keep up. But when you are on there, what's the general talking points on there at the minute?
Just people sharing their cooks really, and we're sort of past the Christmassy sort of stuff. So there's always a big push for Christmas. Everyone wants their turkeys and stuff. So that's all gone. And now it's I guess people really look at shacks. So there's a lot of chat for shacks, and one of my admins, Glenn started up. I call it the shack group, but it's barbecue builds and outdoor bars and stuff, and I think that's 20,000 as well, which is amazing growth.
So we're staying on the subject of Country Wood Smoke for a minute. I like getting involved in the good, healthy debates on there. It must keep you lot on your toes.
Very, very rarely we get the odd quite controversial thing pop up where somebody's questioning how we do things. I think most of the time we get it about right, and it's getting the balance right between having somewhere that's family friendly, open to everyone, and not being overzealous in the removing things.
Marcus, the Country Wood Smoke YouTube channel's got over 8,000 subscribers. Last week you posted a great film about skirt steak, which is the longest steak I've ever seen being cooked. What was it like to cook it?
Yeah, that was I've had my eye on doing one of those for a long time, and I remember going times over in France. And, you go to nice French butchers and you see all these steaks hanging down. And they say, "Oh, anglais," and hanger steak's lovely. It's quite a plumpy sort of cut, but I wanted the really long flat skirts, they call it, and it's quite hard to get hold of that cut because usually it's cut down and minced and whatever. But I asked my friendly butcher to cut me up a couple, and it was beautifully marbled. And when I treated myself to, I think it was a 20 quid grill from Amazon. It's quite long. It's about 3 or 4 foot long, and about a foot wide. And I thought, oh, it's just perfect to lay out one of these long steaks on. And you wouldn't fit it in a Weber kettle probably. It was a good 3 foot steak. It was perfect really, and it grilled up nice. It was pretty fantastic actually. Wonderful steak sandwich really. It was really good.
So Marcus, I've been watching your YouTube channel for a long time, and I've noticed there's been a few new toys kind of creeping in over the last months or so. Do you want to talk us through some of the new toys in the shack?
I have got a few new things. So one of the things I've been really short of is sort of storage and worktop space. So I've had that lovely Kamado Space Island turn up, and actually it's been a real game changer for me. It gives me space for my videos, a bit of a stage and a nice big prep area. And it needed a new grill really. So nice Kamado Joe for me to cook on. I'm testing out a Hammer Forge old Ironsides. I don't know if you've seen the pictures of that, but it's an absolute beast. It's not a big grill, but it's got a lot of space in it, but literally it weighs a ton.
I've seen some of the pictures, and it is built to last, shall we say?
Yeah, it's really good. So I'm going to be testing that out.
You've got nearly 8,000 subscribers, haven't you? How much do you enjoy making the videos? And what's your kind of process behind the videos?
So I love doing the videos. So I always say to people that you got to do it for yourself first. I don't care if one person sees it or 100 or whatever. I do those videos. For me, it's a creative outlet, and I enjoy doing them. I'm also very fortunate that I've got some guys I work with, James Brooks and his team. And that's been pretty challenging through sort of all the COVID stuff. But we've been doing different things. Like we did some cartoon ones to explain like heat control and stuff. So we've done a lot of stuff. We are carrying on filming because it's work, and we socially distance, but that's what they do. That's what I do. It's our work. So
Marcus, last year you launched your new barbecue magazine. How's it going?
It's kind of a relaunch really of the UK Barbecue Mag. So yes, a couple of issues have come out and it's doing really well. It's been received really, really well by people. Obviously it's tricky times launch a magazine, but it's proving pretty popular actually, and we're going to be pushing on it some more again this year to grow it and get the word out further. But again, it's all about getting the word about how fantastic barbecuing is really. So that's what it's all about, and encouraging and supporting people, and hope to get you guys in there soon. That'd be really good to spread the word about what you guys are doing in there as well. So
that'd be fantastic. Now talking about spreading the word, your book, Fire and Food is it's been
Food and Fire.
Food and Fire. I always get it the wrong way around.
Yeah.
It's been a massive inspiration to the barbecue community, and it's gone down really well, hasn't it? Now,
there's
Thank you. Second book. Can you tell us a bit about that?
So Food and Fire has been blown my mind really, how popular it's done. I think it's on its 4th reprint now, which is way bigger than I ever thought and the publisher ever thought. So I love it when people share a cook from it, and that for me is what it's about. That gets me, that's what it's about. That's why I do it. The publisher came back to me and said, look, it's done really well. Would you consider doing another one? And for a long time I was like, no more books. No, because it's quite stressful to, people think it's just chucking a few recipes together and that's it. But it's quite stressful process to write a book. And so they gave me a 2-month deadline to write a book, which is pretty brutal really. I'd had a few ideas floating around, but quite often when people get started, they cook their sausages and burgers and stuff, don't they? And they're basics. And one of the things that they look to do after that is cook some skewers. So I thought it was an opportunity to sort of give people a bit of inspiration about how to cook skewers and to think about what they're cooking.
Marcus, talking about skewers, for my cook for the show this week, coming up later in the show, I took from Food and Fire your glazed chicken and bacon, or avocado wrapped in bacon. They're amazing.
Oh, okay, yeah.
What a meal.
Yeah. Oh wow, I'm glad you like it. That was a really interesting one, and I was a bit in two minds about avocado being cooked, but wrapped in bacon, it's anything wrapped in bacon's good. So I didn't include that one because obviously it was in Food and Fire. But I wanted to do a riff off that. So in skewered, I've gone for different continents, so South America, North America, Europe. One of the things I wanted to do was a crocodile skewer, a bit of fun, bit of exotic meat. And I thought, that was perfect. So I've done crocodile, bacon wrapped avocado skewers. And I wasn't sure about crocodile at first, but actually it's really good. If it's cooked well, it's kind of like monkfish. So the cover of the book is actually the crocodile and bacon wrapped avocado.
Marcus, the book sounds amazing. So is it April that it's due out?
Yeah, end of April 27th, I think. So, yeah.
Now, talking about, let's talk about barbecue trends. And this year is obviously probably going to be a bit of a strange year, like last year was. What do you kind of see as happening as trends this year?
Obviously, skewers. Hopefully. Yeah, maybe a bit of skewers. I'd like to see people having a bit more fun with their cooks as well. There's been a lot of focus on American barbecue, pulled pork a few years ago. It's been brisket. Everyone's doing. We've been through some tough times. Barbecuing's a positive force in a lot of people's lives. It's about fun and good food. And I just like to see people have a bit more fun with their food. My personal challenge for myself is I want to do more veg, not necessarily vegetarian dishes, but where the vegetables are the star, really, and loving what we do and doing it because we love it.
And that's what it's all about, doing it because we love it.
Marcus, thank you for being a wonderful guest on the show, and good luck with all your projects this year.
That's all right. Cheers, guys. Take care. Keep smashing it. Proud of you.
Cheers, Marcus. You too.
A big thank you to Marcus. Now, Elky, Marcus's new book sounds good.
It does, doesn't it? I mean, barbecue food from around the world, food on skewers, both absolute winners in their own right. So when you combine the two, it's only going to be win-win, isn't it? Now, you've been taking a bit of inspiration from Marcus's fresh book, haven't you? Let's take a look.
It's a cold morning in January, and it's the ideal time to start planning for the months ahead. The barbecue shack needs a lot of work doing to it. The roof needs a bit of TLC, and hopefully we'll sort it out in the next few weeks. The veg patch is looking a little sorry for itself too, but we have started to plan what to grow for the summer. It's very much a family team effort, and we all love it. As it's lockdown, my kids are at home and are currently having a school lesson via a Zoom call. I think it's an ideal opportunity to light the barbecue and cook something tasty for lunch. It's been a real privilege having Marcus Bowden on the show, and today I'm going to take inspiration from his book Food and Fire, and I'm going to recreate one of his specialities. Glazed chicken, bacon and avocado skewers, cooked on the grill, and I'm serving them with pita bread and salad. I have to say that I've never grilled avocado before, and I'm looking forward to the results. For my take on Marcus's skewer recipe, you will need 3 skinless chicken breasts, 12 slices of smoked streaky bacon, 2 large ripe avocados, sea salt and black pepper. For the glaze, you'll need 2 tablespoons of runny honey and 2 teaspoons of sriracha chili sauce. This is such a delicious combination. To create the glaze, simply add the sriracha sauce to the honey and mix together. Sriracha is a combination of chili, garlic, brown sugar, rice vinegar and sea salt. When mixed with the sweetness of the honey, the garlic and the heat from the chili creates an explosion of great flavours that's perfect for chicken skewers. Time to light the barbecue, and I'm using lumpwood charcoal, and I'm setting it up for direct cooking. With a sharp knife, cut the avocado and chicken breasts into evenly sized chunks. Next, cut each slice of bacon in half and wrap a piece around a chunk of avocado. For the cook, Marcus recommends metal skewers that are 5mm in diameter, and alternately thread the cubes of chicken and bacon wrapped avocado pieces onto the skewers. Finally, season the skewers with a pinch of sea salt and black pepper. When the barbecue is up to temperature, you're good to go. Place the skewers over direct heat and cook for around 8 to 10 minutes, and turn when necessary. For the last couple of minutes, brush the skewers with the glaze and warm through the pita breads. Thanks Marcus, great combo, and the glaze takes it to a new level. The chicken is done once it hits an internal temperature of 75 degrees. I would have got a shot of my kids enjoying their lunch, but you know what teenagers are like, one sign of a camera and they're off. But it was a good way of perking them up for an afternoon of schoolwork.
Now, Elky, I have to say those skewers are pretty tasty.
They look pretty damn tasty to me. Now, guys, talking about tasty food, one of your favourite features from the Lockdown Barbecue Show was our What's Cooking feature, where you send in a picture of your barbecue food and we do our best to include it in the show. Now, I've got some good news for you, as we are going to be bringing that back. So from now, if you want to start posting pictures of your barbecue food and use the hashtag BarbecueShackTV, we'll do our best to include them on future shows.
And we're really looking forward to seeing those photographs. Now we welcome back James Golding, Group Chef Director at the Pig Hotels, and we caught up with him at the Fleur de Lis Inn in Cranbourne.
Hi everybody, I'm James Golding, and today I'm going to be cooking this incredible Desperate Dan steak with some salsa verde, and we're going to couple that with some really lovely truffled Hasselback potatoes. For the Hasselback potatoes, there's quite a few different ways to cut these potatoes, but I like to use the cheap method. The best thing to do is get basically two wooden spoons, and the idea is that we're going to cut through the potato but not actually right the way through, because we want that bit at the bottom to stay attached. So relatively thin slices. You don't want them so thin that the whole thing kind of falls apart when it cooks, but you want to get all the way down to the spoons. Just cut those down. Use a nice sharp knife. I've got my New Forest knife here. It's razor sharp, and we're just going to cut all the way down. And I work on one potato per person, which, you know, can seem like a lot, but after you've had one, sometimes people go in for two. So all these down. So into this we're putting these incredible truffles, and for those of you that haven't heard about truffles or tried truffles, these aren't your chocolate truffles, these are truffles that grow underground. So these guys are basically spores of the mycelium that grows under the trees, and traditionally it's oak, but you can find them under white holly and all sorts. So these guys are British truffles. These come from the Meon Truffle Company down in Hampshire, and they're really, really great. I mean, he's producing some of the best British truffles that I've tried. For this dish, I would usually use wild garlic or regular garlic, but for this one, I thought we'd go with some elephant garlic. And elephant garlic is a variety of leek, believe it or not, but it tastes like garlic. So we're going to give it a go. I hope it works. It's not quite as strong as, say, your pink garlic or your Isle of Wight garlic, but it will give a really nice flavour. So we'll just crush the clove, chop it down roughly, just into the sides there, run your knife through it. That's going straight into the pan. Bit of butter, probably go quarter of a block for 4, straight in the pan. And then we move over to our truffles. We've sliced the truffle relatively thinly, but not so fine that obviously, you know, it falls apart. You want to be able to see the truffle in the potato. So a couple of millimeters thick. I reckon all of this will probably do it. So I'll take that down. And then the bit at the end, I'm just going to chop this up and we're going to put it in with our butter, just to give that butter a bit of truffle flavour. So that's going in, and we're going to put that onto the barbecue to warm through. And so the truffle and garlic butter straight onto the grill. So with this truffle, we just want to kind of open up the potatoes, not so far that you break the potato, but just enough to kind of slide in those truffle pieces. And what will happen is, as these cook, the truffle will impregnate into the potato. And then obviously we're going to have the butter and the garlic and all that sort of stuff in there, but it's kind of a classic combination. Truffle and potato is one of those sort of match made in heaven, really, and it's truffle mashed potato is actually one of my favourites. And we're going to put a good pinch of the blackthorn salt into our butter. So that's all nicely melted now. We've got the flavours of the elephant garlic and the truffle coming through. And the idea is we're just going to spoon some of this over the top. Try and get it in between the gaps if you can. And then basically you roll it. So I'm trying to get a good few layers of foil so that it doesn't break through, obviously, and then I fold upwards so I know where the butter might come out. So repeat that. So once those are done, we're going to pop them into the wood oven at around 200 degrees C. To begin with, I'm going to start them on the base of the wood oven to get a bit of colour and to basically get the heat straight into them. If you need to, you can feel when they're starting to get a little bit firm, you can always pop them on a tray and then finish them off on the tray, because they will burn if you leave them on the oven floor for all the way. So fold sides up, and in they go. And we'll see them in about sort of half an hour. I'm going to turn them every half an hour and give them a feel and make sure that they're cooking evenly. And now for the Desperate Dan steak. This reminds me of the steak Desperate Dan used to have in the Dandy, which I used to read as a kid. The idea with this is that we want to get a bit of flavour and a bit of seasoning into it before we get it on the grill. So what I tend to do is I salt, pepper and rosemary the steak beforehand. And what happens is that makes sure that the salt seeps into the steak and doesn't fall off when you put it onto the grill. So you want to be quite liberal with your salt. I use blackthorn because I like the flavour, and I'm going to just press that into there. Got some black pepper over the top, and I'm going to drizzle some olive oil over as well, and we're going to rub that in. Make sure you get a good even covering and flip it over. Same again on the other side. And this is a rump steak, and the rump is quite a complex cut of meat. There's lots of different muscles running through, as you can see, but it has this incredible layer of fat on top, which when we put it on the grill, it's going to char up and give the most incredible flavour. So same again, nice drizzle of oil, rub it on, and some people don't do this, but I do. I like to add some rosemary, and I think that the rosemary just gives it that really great kind of, almost like a Sunday roast flavour. You know, when you get that piece of beef and it's been roasted in the oven for hours with rosemary and garlic. I just think that when this hits the grill, all those oils and the rosemary just work so well with the beef. So sprinkle fresh rosemary. You can use dried if you want, but I prefer fresh. So we're going to let that sit for about 5 or 6 minutes, let all those flavours mix together, and we're going to move on to our garlic butter. So obviously it wouldn't be a steak without garlic butter. So I brought some of this elephant garlic with me, which is in the same family as leek, but it tastes really, really good as a garlic butter. You could also put wild garlic in this, which is really good this time of year, but obviously you need to add that in at the last minute. So we're going to chop up some of this elephant garlic. And you can see it's slightly different than normal garlic. It's more kind of translucent than a normal garlic clove, but it has that lovely smell of a sort of mild garlic. Into the pan, we're going to add some cracked black pepper, a good pinch of blackthorn salt, and we're going to go over to the barbecue now, melt that down, and get ready to cook the steak. Butter's going on. Put that sort of towards the back because we don't want it to fry. We just want it to soften slightly. And now the steak's been marinating for about 5 minutes, we can get this on as well. Now, depending on what sort of grill you've got and how much heat you've got going in, I usually give around sort of 3 to 4 minutes each side, but it does depend. So, you know, however you like to cook your steak, cook it how you like it. So, on it goes, and that's the noise that you want. You want a nice sizzle. You don't want to see too much flare up, just enough to hear that steak colouring up and cooking nicely. Now we're going to make the salsa verde. So with me I bought some of this fantastic homegrown rockets from our garden at the Pig and some persil. Now persil is a cross between curly parsley and celery is really good in any dish, but with the steak it really does work very well. So salsa verde is essentially chopped up greens that we're going to mix with some lovely capers and a bit of lime juice, and I've also bought these really cool radish pods which I'm going to talk about after we've cooked the steak. So for the sauce we're going to chop this very fine. Now sometimes I like to blanch this, which sets the colour, but because we're making a very quick salsa verde we can do it raw. And the reason why you blanch it is because the chlorophyll inside this leaf will turn brown the longer it sits in the acid, but because we're serving it, we're cooking it and serving it, we don't need to worry about that. So rock it into the bowl, and time for the persil. I quite like taking the stalks off of this. You can use the stalks, but as the plant gets a little bit older it can tend to get a little bit fibrous. So if you just pick it like you would normal parsley, get those main kind of big chunky stalks out, and then same thing, chop it nice and fine. You can also, if you want to cheat, you stick it all in a thermocoop or a food processor and just pulse it, give it a pulse. But for this I quite like the hand chopped look. I think it really does show that you've done it all by hand. So rough chop into the bowl, and now we need to add the glue. So we have some of this peculiar olive oil, and you want enough oil so that the whole dressing kind of comes together. You don't want so much that it's swimming in the oil, you just want it to be kind of nicely formed, and that is looking good. I'm going to add in the zest of 1 lime. You can also use lemon if you want. Remember to make sure that you wash these well before you zest them. Now you can use a normal grater if you wanted to, but microplane works really well. If you don't own a microplane, buy one. They are in every single chef's knife roll, I can tell you. So zest of 1 lemon, good amount of juice. Make sure when you're buying your limes that they're nice and soft. A lot of times I go to places and I use their limes and I suddenly find out they're like bullets and you can't get an ounce of juice out of them. So it's very important that you choose the right ripe limes. Going to add a pinch of salt, blackthorn obviously, and good crack of pepper. Give that a good mix. Now traditionally you'd add in garlic as well, but for this I'm not going to add in the garlic because I'm going to do garlic butter on the steak after it's cooked when it's resting. So let's go and check the steak. Okay, that's now going to rest. So while it's resting we're going to slather this with some garlic butter, and what this does is it keeps in the moisture and gives it a bit of that garlicky flavour while it's resting. Also mixes with all the juices that will be released from the steak, and we can use that as the base of our sauce. So the steak's rested now. We're just going to carve this up. So as you can see, all those lovely juices have mixed with the butter. We're going to pour those back into the last bit of the garlic butter, and when you're slicing the steak with a rump, as you can see, there's lots of different muscles. So I tend to go 45-degree angle and work my way from the small end to the thicker end. Look at that, perfect rare. So on an angle, about sort of centimetre size cuts in thickness. Now if you didn't let this rest long enough, what would happen is as you're carving it, I'd have blood and juices running all over my feet. So that's why it's important that you let it rest, because it allows all that moisture to stay within the steak. Wow, that looks really good. Smells incredible. So all the way to the end, and then I'm going to carefully get that onto the plates like so. Spread it out a little bit so you can see the cuisson, and then we're going to add some of that garlic butter with the roasting juices over the top, and this is hot, so this will allow it to keep on cooking. And then for our salsa verde, I like to basically put a little bit of this over the steak and then pile the rest here, and people can basically help themselves when they come along to take bits of the meat. And then to garnish, I've got these incredible radish pods, and these guys are from the Munchenbeer radish, and as a plant grows, it goes to flower and then it goes to seed, and it produces these fantastic little chili shaped bursts of flavour, and basically they're a little bit peppery, a bit like your radish, but it's quite funny because kids think that they're chilies, but they're not, obviously. So we're going to put those on top, and then some little chrysanthemum petals, and these have got a great kind of carroty floral flavour. And there we go, we've got my Desperate Dan steak with salsa verde and radish pods. Butter's nicely melted, and these guys are looking incredible. Look at that, beautiful. Golden brown, lovely and soft. You can see those truffle bits just poking through. So we're just going to pour some of this butter over the top just to give it a nice shine. So going over the top, and then I'm going to plate them in the foil so that people can just help themselves. And these are my truffle and Hasselback potatoes.
A big thank you to James and the Fleur de Lis in Cranbourne.
Yeah, I mean, what a great day that was. And I can only hope that we can do that again soon.
Let's hope so. Now, I'd like to say a big thank you to you for subscribing to the Barbecue Shack TV YouTube channel. We're nearly at 1,000 subscribers, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. It's great to hit 1,000 by the time we make our next show.
Yeah, like Neil said, please spread the word, hit subscribe, tell your mates, just spread the word far and wide. We're going to be adding a lot of great content this year, including the previous lockdown barbecue shows, so you can catch up on those as well. So just go and give it some love.
Now that's it for this month's show. Please stay safe in lockdown, and a big thank you to our programme sponsor, Kamado Joe.
Yeah, and again, huge thanks from me, guys. Keep those fires burning, and we'll see you again soon.